How's it going? Super quick video. What? Look, we can initiate a variable via ng-init. Init, right? So what that does is that creates. It's effectively exactly the same as doing something like this. Scope test var equals hallelujah. Okay. I just discovered Hoka shoes. That's why I'm saying hallelujah, because hallelujah. These shoes are amazing. Anyway. So, but this ng-init exists outside of a controller. Outside of the controller, okay? So the question is, will this controller be able to see it? And the answer is yes, because this scope, overall scope in Angular is global. So the next question is, if we put this test variable inside the controller, will it work? And the answer is yes, it will work. Now, why does it work? That's because scope by its nature is global, and all controllers can see the parent, can see and use the parent scope variables. So when we're creating a variable via ng-init, it directly inserts the variable into the scope. But since this ng-init does not have a dedicated controller, it will just go directly into the parent. So we can see that. So I have this little thing in here, I type, it will give me the scope, and then we can see, okay, in this controller there is no, oh, I forgot what I named it, test something. There's no hallelujah in here. But if you go into the parent, you will be able to see hallelujah, test var. You see, it's in here. And that's again because same principle applies as my previous videos where I made, where if you create a should I explain it in here? Okay, I'll do it for revision purposes. Okay, so now why does that work? Basically, I'll explain it. Why does it work? Let's remove all this mambo jumbo. Let's remove this. And let's create a div, and let's create a secondary controller. Equals so we need to copy this controller here. Just put it in here. So it's going to be my controller too. And we're going to literally remove all the scopes. Like this. Whoops. Okay. So now, title 3 only exists in this controller. Okay? Title 3. So this controller has no variables. So when we put title 3 in here, it is going to work. Oh my god, I did something wrong. Hold on a sec. Oh, yeah, I need to rename this. There you go. You see, it's still working. Now, why does it work? Why does it work? That's because this scope here, by its nature, is global. So anything I put into the scope will be visible to every controller. Okay? So how do we know that? Because if we console log, let me just console log the scope real quick. Like this. So you see, we look at scope, we can see inside the parent Oh, wait. Am I console logging twice? Hold on a sec. Oh, yeah, I'm console logging twice. Let me just remove this stuff here. Okay. Now you see there's no variables in this controller, but inside the parent we can see that there is a variable. But we don't need to put the parent. That's kind of the strange thing about Angular, is that technically I would expect that you should be able to access it like this. And again, you can't do that. You can't do that. It will still work because technically this variable is inside the parent. But we can also just directly reference it and it will still work. Which is kind of strange, but it is what it is. It's an old framework. AngularJs is very old. It's no longer supported, so it is what it is, basically. You see it's still working. But bottom line, the lesson learned in here is that ng-init is exactly the same as creating a scope variable. Only you do it inside the HTML template. Now, if that template does not have a dedicated controller, so it's not bound to anything, it will still create it as if and put that variable into the scope, and then you'll be able to access it. So again, we can do it literally in here. We can do it anywhere. Like, okay, ng-init let's do my HTML var equals. Now let's do the classic hello world. Again, you see, if we're gonna console log, it's not gonna be here, but it's gonna be inside the parent. Parent of a parent, probably. Yeah, you see, now it's in here. We will still be able to use it. So if we do it like this, do my HTML var. Whoops, I maybe need to separate it somehow, otherwise the mix. Yeah, so you see it's still working. Even though it's parent of a parent. So if we look at the console log, we will see that it's a parent of a parent. You see it's inside parent, who also has a parent, and that's where it sits. But again, you can still, which is the weirdest thing about Angular, is that you can still access this directly by using the interpolation, I think it's called. Alright, so just be aware of this. Take care, bye-bye.